modernizers. Bishop Ajayi Father wrote the Bible. Wrote the Yoruba orthography. All of us who are reading Yoruba today, this was the man who wrote our language from spoken to written form, Bishop Ajayi Father. And he wrote the primers for Nupe and Igbo languages. He was a polyglot. He spoke many languages. He studied Greek and Latin. They established mission schools in Abeokuta and a printing press, which produced a bilingual newspaper called Iwe Iroyin. Townsend established an industrial institute which produced bricks. The city hosted the first church in what is now Nigeria. Egban Union Board of Management publicized the decision with the printing press. They campaigned for instruction in English division schools, and they established a secular school. They raised revenues for the central government by introducing custom duties on exported produce. They established a postal system. Well, what happened next? British colonization and the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates in 1914 put an end to the Egba self-governing and modernizing project. However, Egba's culture of innovation continued into the 20th century and to the present day. Abeokuta continued to produce many firsts: the first hospital, the first bridge, the first indigenous Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Adetokunbo Ademola. The first psychiatric hospital in Nigeria was in Abeokuta and was led by Professor Adeoye Lambo. Lambo was born in Abeokuta in 1923 and had his education at Baptist Boys High School in Abeokuta before proceeding to England for his medical education. He trained as a psychiatrist at King's College, London. He brought new innovations to Arrow Psychiatric Hospital. Instead of the European model of institutionalizing and isolating mental patients in asylums, he integrated them with surrounding villages and communities so that they could live normal lives and to reduce the stigma attached to mental illness. And of course, we can't talk about Abeokuta without mentioning the Ransom Kuti family, a storied family that has a great influence on Nigerian political and cultural history. Mrs. Funayo Kuti, during British colonization, organized a successful revolt against heavy taxation of market women by the British. She was the first woman in Nigeria to drive a car, and she, along with her children, were fierce fighters for the human rights and dignity. These families gave us Fela Ransom Kuti, later known as Fela Anikulapo Kuti, the late irrepressible grandfather of Afro-pop. Using his music, he lampooned and campaigned against military rule in Nigeria, and his dear mother paid the price when military thugs invaded his home and unleashed violence on that family. Mrs. Kuti was thrown out of the second floor of a window. The injuries killed that woman. Abeokuta gave us a Nobel Prize winner in literature, Wole Soyinka. Apart from being a celebrated artist, Soyinka continues to be a vanguard for human rights. Even in Swallow's years today, Soyinka is still fighting. Nigeria enjoys democracy today, but the man who paid the ultimate price for democracy in Nigeria in 1999 was Chief MKO Abiola, an Egba man. His election at that time was judged to be the freest and fairest ever in Nigeria. He was elected president. As the country was making the transition from military rule to democracy, the military annulled the election and jailed him, and Abiola died in jail fighting for that mandate. It's why Mrs. Kudirat Abiola was assassinated by the military while fighting for that mandate. What I'm saying is this. There's a Yoruba saying, we have to know where we are coming from to know where we are going. And to let Shedi know that he is standing on the shoulder of giants. History matters. All of us here came from somewhere, from families, from communities, and from people who have done incredible things. So you are standing on shoulders of giants. It's an instinct. See how you feel, I have to do this. I don't have the resources, I don't have millions of dollars, but I have to do this. Can you imagine in the 19th century, those people moving into Abeokuta? That's the spirit. We have to do this. We have to do this. Now, I'm going to talk about the Nigerian youth. You know, Asia and Europe are aging. Their populations are getting older, and they have fewer young people in those continents, in Asia and Europe. But Africa is a young continent. Welcome. So Africa is a young continent. Nigeria, like many other African countries, is a young country demographically. 60% of Nigerian population is under the age of 25. But Nigeria is not treating its youth as assets. Contemporary Nigerian youth are facing incredible challenges that their elders ruling the country now do not face. I call the older generations, which include mine, the oil boom generation or the jollof rice, chicken, and ice cream generation, spoiled people with a sense of entitlement. There is a deep intergenerational inequity in Nigeria. The people inflicting this pain, cruelty, and poverty on the youth grew up in a country that was very generous to them. They attended schools and universities at home and abroad, paying little or no tuition. When I was at the University of Ife as an undergraduate, not only did we not pay tuition, the government gave us something called bursary, free money to spend as we pleased. We ate well in the cafeteria and studied and played in a fabulous environment. Everything worked. We were served jollof rice, chicken, and ice cream on Sundays. And as you might imagine, cafeterias were fuller than usual on Sundays. I got 3 good jobs after my national youth service, none of which I took. That was not unusual for the people in my generation. I wanted to go to graduate school, which I did. And after graduate school, I got good jobs, and one of which led to a great career before I emigrated here. Decades of military rule corrupted and distorted Nigeria beyond recognition. Impunity, corruption, and cruelty became the norm. Even though the military is now mercifully gone after a life and death struggle by freedom-loving Nigerians, their legacy of corruption and impunity endures among elected leaders. The consequences of this are diminished economic opportunities and poverty for young people. Many Nigerians live in very precarious conditions. Climate change, environmental degradation, natural disasters, Islamic and Christian radicalization, terrorism, state violence, a broken education and healthcare system have tremendous impact on the youth. Global warming affects Nigeria like the rest of the world. Massive flooding now occurs routinely, causing a lot of death and destruction. Lake Chad has shrunk by about 90% in the last 2 decades because of climate change and human action. Northern Nigerian herders are moving south to find pasture for their cows. Their cows destroy farms, and herders unleash violence on farmers and their communities. Stories abound of incessant killings in the Middle Belt and recently in southern Nigeria as well by people called Fulani herders. In the southwest, where I grew up, industries dried up because of poor economic policies by the ill-educated military dictators. My generation grew up with a solid industrial culture and an excellent school and higher education system created by Tivawolowo and his peers in the Western region. All this evaporated during the long reign of the military. Military culture is the opposite of democracy. Universities are so chronically underfunded that most professors can barely make ends meet. Universities are closed for long periods of time that the 4-year course becomes 6 or 7 years. 10 years, you said? Uh, upon graduation, many of our youth cannot find employment or start businesses because of the lack of capital. In this situation, some youth take to crime and other antisocial activities. Many of you have heard of 419, those letters from the wealthy Nigerian prince promising you millions of dollars, right? Yahoo boys and girls. This is the socio-economic scenario responsible for the disenfranchisement and poverty of the youth. And since Shegun founded this foundation, many of them have been taking advantage of the opportunities provided by this foundation to learn new skills. You are going to see a video, right? Yeah, it's going to show a video of some of these beneficiaries. The House of Emmanuels has given scholarship to many students at different levels of education to enable them to continue with their education. It has trained 152 people in fashion design and embellishment. 66 people as makeup artists. You know, we have a film industry, right? Yeah, you need people like that. In fact, I understand maybe we are the second, Nollywood is the second or third biggest film industry in the world right now. So it's a very thriving industry at home. Then 107 in hairdressing and styling, 33 in catering and baking, 7 in lighting and effects, again, film industry, 16 as well, that's 26 in plumbing, and 19 in photography. Nigeria elected